Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we are talking about the latest studio album from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, entitled PetroDragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night and Annihilation of Planet Earth and the Beginning of Merciless Damnation. God damn, that title alone is longer than the Bible, the Lord of the Rings, and Les Mis combined. What the hell? This album, which for the sake of simplicity we will refer to from here on as PetroDragonic Apocalypse, is the 24th full-length studio album from this Australian rock band, who have acquired a reputation for constantly pumping out music at an absolutely insane pace. In 2022 alone, for instance, they dropped 5 brand new studio albums, 3 of them all back-to-back in the month of October, and also for exploring an absolutely massive variety of subgenres and styles and sounds and ideas. Everything from psychedelic rock to progressive rock to folk music, jazz fusion, dream pop and synth pop, thrash metal even, with 2019's Infest the Rat's Nest. 4 years later, I can very honestly say that Infest the Rat's Nest is one of the best modern thrash metal albums available. It's raw, it's powerful, it's urgent. I love how fiercely and bluntly it tackles environmental issues and politics. I love how it combines a flurry of gross and scuzzy sounds from Voivod, Motorhead, and High on Fire. I've brought up Infest the Rat's Nest specifically, not just because it's metal, and not just because I want to remind you of that album's awesome power, and recommend you check it out if you have not already, but also because this album, PetroDragonic Apocalypse, is, in nearly every way imaginable, a spiritual successor, and I would even go as far as to argue an outright sequel, expanding upon the core themes and values of Infest the Rat's Nest, getting louder, getting heavier, getting meaner, bringing in more progressive elements, getting tighter with the riffage, making for something that is consistently and simultaneously urgent and exhilarating, important and brutal. Opening number Motor Spirit, for instance, is a scuzzy, fuzzy, moldy kind of like stoner metal, speed metal, biker rock jam and anthem of sorts, at least for a little bit. Tons of gravelly vocals and retro rock and metal riffage wrapped up in some very primitive production. What's most interesting about this cut, though, is its transition into what we will call, for the sake of this review, indigenous progressive metal. I'm aware that that's not the correct terminology or even real terminology, but listen to this and tell me that's not the vibe you're getting. Like the throat singing, the tribal chanting, the hypnotic, meditative percussion, the shadowy textures, and elongated vocal theatrics. It kinda sounds like the freak child of Tool and mid to late 90s Sepultura, and honestly, I'm kinda loving it. Its aggressive and cathartic build back into more pounding and primitive rock and metal is great stuff as well, with some soaring, ripping solos and some really fantastic battering rhythms. Then there's Supercell, which aims directly for the gut with some chunky barrages of slightly unorthodox, groove-laden thrash. It's grim, it's menacing, it's got a lot of really cool tempo changes, and eventually it brings in some weirder time signatures and some weirder soundscapes. Definitely very much in line with a lot of the material we heard on the aforementioned Infest the Rat's Nest. In fact, if I were told that this were originally written for that album, but simply not included, I might believe that. Maybe. Then there's Witchcraft, whose more supernatural coat of paint and elaborate and nuanced guitar pyrotechnics and progressions almost bring to mind like early to mid-2000s Mastodon, but from an alternate dimension where they got really into classic heavy metal. Gia Monster 2 is a ballsy, bulldozing bruiser of epic proportions as well. Tons of thick, groovy, epic riffs here, just kind of constantly stomping and moshing and jumping around like an actual monster. Think like epic doom and heavy metal meets like sludge and stoner metal meets like Judas Priest, especially in the vocal department, believe it or not, and you're kind of in the right ballpark. Despite all of this gruesome goodness, though, it's the closing track, Flamethrower, that stands out as the album's undeniable highlight, in my opinion, due to how it not blends, but how it emulsifies the worlds of mind-bending, drug-induced psychedelia and sharp, stubborn, pissy, old-school thrash metal brutality, complete with, like, the rolling, urgent, percussive beatdowns and that tight, machine gun riffage. For a hot minute, it legitimately has the rawness and the precision and the aggression that I would expect of, like, mid to late 80s Megadeth, before then completely immersing us in a world full of, shall I say, the standard King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard weirdness. All the weird sound effects, all the weird transitions, all the weird vocal textures that you associate with albums like, say, Flying Microtonal Banana, Murder the Universe, that's all here. And it's all fucking amazing, and it brings this album to a truly fantastic and one-of-a-kind climax. I'm feeling a very strong 4.5 out of 5 on this. I think this is an incredible record. Love how weird it is. Love how erratic it is. Love how unpredictable it is. I love how it has expanded on everything that Infest the Rat's Nest did so well, musically, structurally, and conceptually. This is honestly the most I've been invested in any of King Gizzard's projects since Infest the Rat's Nest, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a metalhead and this is a metal album. I genuinely feel this is the most cohesive thing that the band has put out since that album, especially when stacked up against, like, the KW and the LW double album package and, like, the 80-minute mammoth that was Omnium Gatherum. As much as I love seeing a modern rock band work this hard and playing around with so many genres, this album definitely reaffirms to me that maybe King Gizzard should be spending more time within the metal realms now and then. Just a thought. Feel free to do with that information whatever you wish. There's no doubt in my mind that this thing is going to be rejected and dismissed and laughed at by a slew of thrash metal elitists for a slew of petty and stupid and bullshit reasons, and if that somehow brings them joy, go for it, I guess. Enjoy re-listening to the same old rehashed leftovers from 1987 over and over again, if that's more your style. Personally, this album gives me everything I've really been wanting to see from new modern thrash metal in a long time. It's sharp, it's smart, it's unpredictable, it's unique, and it's still, just like any thrash metal album, doesn't fuck around and doesn't waste any time, despite all of its weirder moments and despite its more progressive elements. Once again, solid 4.5 out of 5. Had I not already done the top 10 best metal albums of 2023 so far video, this probably would have been squeezed in somewhere, because it's just that fucking good. You need to check this out. End of story. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe right here so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. Make sure you check us out on Discord as well if you have not already. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.